Joe on Joe is the only podcast where Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and I'm happy to be back this week. Post 4th of July, I've got all my fingers, all my toes. No one blew up anything on the 4th. I hope everyone had a good long weekend. That Thursday is kind of like the best day for it. You get the Thursday, the Friday, usually the Wednesday is like there's no work to be done. So that's a solid day for a holiday. So I hope everyone made the most of it and had a good time spent with family and such. We are back this week for another episode of How to Draw G.I. Joe. So Draw with Joe, and we're doing Zartan again. This time we're doing Zartan in profile, as you can see here. Listeners, if you're brand new to the show, this is normally an audio podcast, so thank you for joining us. We are hosting the video for this on our YouTube page, YouTube/ Joe on Joe Pod. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Joe on Joe Pod. You can send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the Draw with Joes. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you loathe them? Or do you love them? Like, which one is it? Either way, it's with an L, and I appreciate it. But this is the podcast where we've covered all the episodes of the cartoon, all the issues of the comic book from Marvel Comics, and now we're working our way through some of the 80s ephemera comic books, of which How to Draw issue number 2 certainly fits in. We're doing Zartan today. I'm very excited. I love Zartan again. Also, Joe, related news, I want to point out that we are in the midst of Cobra Convergence. So check out the hashtag Cobra Convergence 8 over on Twitter and on all your social medias to keep up with it. Every day this month, someone's doing a special Cobra themed issue of their show, episode issue, whatever you want to call it. This show is what's the word? Like, we're no exception to that. Yeah. So we'll be putting one out towards the end of the month. And I want to give a big shout out to at Skinny Joe Fan, our friend G.I. Joe aficionado in green shirt, Skinny Joe Fan over on Twitter. He put together a really, really impressive, very nice, like, motion action comic book that fleshed out the wonderful short story, My Dinner with Serpentor, from annual number 3. That's right. Yearbook number 3. And he asked myself to be a part of it via vocals. We've also got a language direction from none other than Mary McDonnell Lewis. Hello, Lady J. And just throwing this out there, Brian Cummings reprises his role as Dr. Mindbender. So I was blessed to have like 2 lines as Torch. It's probably the worst Australian accent you're ever going to hear, but I'm telling you, I gave it my best. And I was so really, really pleased. And all that aside, it's really fun to watch. Skinny Joe Fan did a really great job. So check him out on Twitter. He has that on his YouTube page, which I'm going to call that up in 1 second and get you an address at his YouTube. What is Skinny Joe Fan's YouTube page? Let's see. Hold on. Copy. We're going to paste. We're doing this in real time because, quite frankly, there's a lot of it's on Barking Fridge is the YouTube channel. Barking Fridge, BARKINGFRIDGE. So exactly what it sounds like, Barking Fridge. So at Barking Fridge on YouTube has the video. Also, just go on to Twitter if you're there and check out at Skinny Joe Fan. Certainly, tell him Joe and Joe sent you, but check it out. And I've retweeted it too, so you can check out my feed. It's really fun. So I know you will all enjoy it. All right. And I think that's it for G.I. Joe Ephemeral. I did get in the mail today, I got Naugahyde. He arrived. Here we go. He arrived. He also arrived. He had a little bit of of a bumpy road getting to us. So poor Naugahyde had a box crush FedEx. The thing looked like the FedEx driver used it as like it looked like my box looked like he tied it to the bottom of his shoe to reach the pedals of the truck. I'm not saying the guy was short. I have no idea. Didn't even see him, but that's how the box arrived looking. That someone tied it on their shoes to help steer the truck. So Hasbro, heads up, I have reached out. Let's see. So yeah, so I think that's kind of it. Oh, I know. We're talking movies and a meal. You guys got to give our sponsors, the Movies and a Meal podcast, some love. This weekend, we saw Maxine. Not for everybody. I certainly enjoyed it. I didn't think they stuck the landing, but I really enjoyed X and I really enjoyed Pearl. And I think Maxine was right in line with it, but just not as, there's something about it that was a little off. And but I enjoyed it, and I'm sure our friends over at Movies and Middle podcast are going to be covering it. So give them a shout. Again, tell them Joe and Joe. Tell anyone you meet, I want you to tell them that Joe and Joe sent you. That's really it. So here we go today. We're doing Zartan. And yeah, so we're gonna do Big Head. We're gonna go big again. I've enjoyed the last few weeks of doing these larger format drawings, and which is weird because I'm not a larger, usually when I doodle or when I screw around, it's not usually larger format stuff, but I gotta say I have really been enjoying it. So we got here, his neck's gonna be there, and his head's gonna be there. Also, if anyone here is following, so his hairpiece is gonna cut through there. If you guys follow me on Facebook, you might notice that I've been posting a lot of things on the eBay page. And this is not a shill for the eBay page, I promise you. But that is, it's been posting a lot because I finally found the social media plugin and got it to work. I think I had it working a long time ago and then something broke. But so you'll see a lot of products posted up there if you're on the eBay page. I hope that's not too annoying, and I genuinely mean that. I hope it's not too annoying. I do have an eBay store, and I do appreciate you guys giving it a look. I don't do a ton of G.I. Joe stuff, though. Although I did just sell someone a Cobra Fang, one of the GameStop Fangs. I did just sell someone an extra Cobra Fang that I had for a steal, by the way. But I normally don't have a ton of G.I. Joe stuff because I keep it to myself. But there's a few books on there. There's a few comic books on there. And but I do move a lot of cool vintage comics and all the things that we all enjoy. So if you guys do see that and you want to give the store a look, please do. But that is by no means, I don't mean that as a shill. I genuinely mean that as an apology if you're all of a sudden your feed is getting full with my eBay postings. I'll tell you, this is a little off G.I. Joe tangent, I guess, but if anyone here does anything with social and does all that stuff, when Twitter was bought out by Musk and became a bigger cesspool, they broke when they started. I think they broke it first, and then they started charging exorbitant amounts for plugins. So now, like half of the automated things that you do on social media, whether it's Facebook or what have you, they don't have the Twitter plugins because, frankly, Twitter asks for an exorbitant amount of money. Like, Facebook pays it, likely either pays it or negotiated something because they're Facebook. But someone like eBay doesn't. Let me see here. eBay, I don't think. Yeah, eBay doesn't have a Twitter one. There's also one that I use for work. There's a couple of programs I use for my work in my real life that they're legit programs, but they basically said no, we're not partaking in that whole Twitter fiasco. And then I know for this podcast, Libsyn, which is what I used to host, and I recommend Libsyn to anyone who's out there who is thinking about doing a podcast. I am a big fan of Libsyn, but they had a Twitter plugin and they also dropped it when the those prices shot up in Musk and whatever. So that's one of the reasons why I don't post regularly anymore with show stuff, show or like episode drops for this show. I know this is all fascinating, but I'm talking and drawing. Um, is frankly because the automation isn't there, and then I have a job. I'm busy during the week, and so it's just yeah. So it's a bit of a failure, but again, it's my show, and things happen. But I really appreciate you guys who do find me, and new and old listeners are great. Speaking of starting podcasts, here's another shameless plug. If you're going to be in San Diego in 2 weeks for the San Diego Comic-Con, I really need you guys. Absolutely. If you hear this Thursday morning, 11 a.m., if you're in San Diego by then, I know some of you don't get in until a little later, but if you're in San Diego by then, Thursday morning, I need you to come over to the San Diego Library, I think. And that's our panel on So I Want to Start a Podcast. So we're me and my friend Christian Horn and Jim Higgins and David Avalone are talking to you about starting your own podcast and what it takes to do it, like literally the walk through the steps. So if you've ever had a question about it, if you've ever been like, man, I really love G.I. Joe and I don't really know where to start. Well, first of all, let me throw this out there. I 100% mean this, listeners. If you do ever really have questions, hit me up because I'm always happy to help. I really am. Happy to help people get started. Happy to help scare people off from doing it. So I think that's a pretty good framework. So we're going to go in with this charcoal pen. I'm going to use this charcoal again. But I'm always happy to help. So if there is anyone in earshot and you're like, I'm thinking about starting a Joe cast or thinking about starting a whatever cast, a Thundercats cast, I am so happy to help you and assist in any way that I can. You always, I mean it. Reach out. You're a listener. You guys are awesome. So I'm happy to do that. But if you're in the San Diego area, you should 100% stop by because that's going to be a lot of fun. I like to think I'm fun. Christian is fun. He's a very nice dude. His podcast is the Part-Time Fanboy Podcast, and of which actually I'm going to be a guest on next week. So if you want to hear me talk about Planet of the Apes, of which I'm a mega fan as well. I love Planet of the Apes. If you ever want to hear me wax poetic about the apes, check out the Part-Time Fanboy Podcast. I'll be sharing it. But we recorded it over the weekend, and there's 3 of us, and I thought it went really well. We did a lot of love. It was just a lot of gushing over how much we love this series, and we talked about the first movie, to be specific, the Heston one. So if you want to catch my Planet of the Apes conversation, I feel like his eye's wrong here. Check out Part-Time Fanboy. That'll be next week. But yeah, absolutely. If you are in San Diego, please come by and say hello. Even, or if for some reason you actually can't make that session, I get it. It's early and it's the first thing on Thursday. You got to line up for Hall H. If you can't make that session, just ping me. Let me know on social media, and I would love to do a meetup and say hello and meet some of you guys. We're going to be there with some friends, some hardcore Joe fans, and so there's going to be a lot of Joe love. In fact, I'm bringing the board games with me, so who knows when we'll bust those out, whether it's at the hotel or maybe at one of the, I think, do they do gaming rooms there? But we'll have those with us so we can play some Joe board games, and we'll be there all weekend. And I think what's cool is, since I'm getting my obligation out of the way early, I will have a lot of time to screw around over the weekend and just kind of meander and do what I want. Hopefully get all those great exclusives from Hasbro. Not the Super 7 exclusives. The Zartan I like, speaking of. And I think that was the other guy. It's the Red Shadow. It's the It's the version of the super reaction figure that they did. They're doing them as one of the deluxe ones. That's fine. That's cool. The Zartan is more interesting to me. But the Snake Eyes one, I got to be honest, not excited. Like, I can't. The phrase I was using was, you're beating a silent horse with that mold. Like, how many times do we need that mold used to tribute silent issue for some? Like, what are we doing? And I get it. It doesn't cost them any money to reuse the mold, but holy cow. That exclusive does not get my feathers ruffled, if you know what I mean. I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, it looks fine, it looks whatever, but man, I don't care. And I love Snake Eyes, man. You know, no bigger Snake Eyes love than me. I'm gonna do a couple things a little different here. Whoa, you know what would be cool? Here's the thing, and I know it would have been a whole new retooled mold, or maybe it wouldn't though. Why don't? Because they've done Scarlet. Why don't you do some type of Scarlet from that adventure? You know, like, well, she was all bandaged up, right? Wasn't she? I think so. Yeah, she was. I know she was, like, chained up and stuff. I don't know if you want to do with Scarlet and chains, but like, Scarlet was a part of that adventure. So was Storm Shadow. So why don't we do that? Or I don't know. I would say move on from it, but in total, but yeah. Any hoots. We're doing Zartan's face here. So I guess this would be a good time to share this. Talking about Cobra Convergence earlier. I don't want to set the bar low. I don't want to bum you out. I had originally a much, much more extensive plan, and it fell through, everyone. And by fell through, what I'm really saying is Joe didn't follow through. I have a project that I've been working on since last August, and it is still going to be made. But various reasons, mental health is real, everybody. Various reasons, I stopped working on it a few months ago, and it just all of a sudden it was June, and I knew I wasn't going to do it. So I've known this wasn't going to happen for a little bit. So I will be doing something for Cobra Convergence, most likely something with Draw with Joe. I think like a deluxe special episode, maybe. But I'm not exactly, to be honest, I'm really not sure what it's going to be yet. But it is not, as of now, unless I come up with some brilliant thing I can pull off in literally 10 days. Yeah, in like 10 days, which I don't see happening. It'll likely be just an extended Draw with Joe. I don't see me doing anything fun like we did last year with Frost Destro, or certainly Cold Slither, that kind of thing. But that is what the original plan was, to do something along those lines. And that plan, for those of you who I have spoken to about it, if you're hearing this, it has not gone away. It is just delayed. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, entertainment delayed. Is it really is worth it? It will be. It will be. I just, didn't come together. Some of that stuff takes a lot of work and can be, and requires a lot of people. And then, but I'm the trigger. And if I don't get my triggers in order, I don't mean to be vague there, but basically, if I don't get my ducks in a row as far as producing it, then I can't, justifiably go to a lot of people and say, hey, we have 3 weeks to record something. It's not fair to anyone involved. So it is a cool project that I'm very much in love with. I've had it in my head for a year, and I am not abandoning it. But fortunately, it won't be ready. It will not be ready for Cobra Convergence. That is just a sad truth. But I am going to try to do something fun. I think it's probably going to be a deluxe of this, as I said. Maybe we'll do a full color. I don't know. but I'm working on ideas, and I do work very well under pressure. I will say that. I am going to toot my own horn here. When it comes to creativity, I do work very well, and I do get stuff done. That is one trait that my wife is always she's very vocal about her admiring of that. She's like, you just get it. Like, you just, when push comes to shove, you just sit there and get it done. And I like to think that's a little bit of, well, it's a lot of my parents, but a lot of my sport background and a lot of my art background with Claudia Kramer out of Harold L. Richards High School. Just to sit down and do it. Well, that was pretty fast, guys. We are 20 minutes into this entire podcast, and I'd say the Zartan's pretty done. Smudging here, trying to erase those pencil lines. Yeah, that's the thing with Zartan. This is what I realized last week. Like, he's so much of him is hood that when you're doing this, it's like you're, half. It's all hood. There's not a lot of detail beyond that, and the version of the Zartan they're giving us is very much animated. It's not super. These are more animation cartoon figures than they are like, heavily shaded. Oh man, I got a lot of chalk. That's what's going on. I got a lot of chalk on my hand. Heavily shaded, comic book, like realistic comic book stuff. Yeah, so I'm just kind of smearing charcoal around right now. What would I do here? I would make his chin a little smaller. So I'm looking at this, going, stepping back and looking at this. I like the size of that. I like all that. I would say the chin may be a little smaller, but who knows? He's got a big chin. Let's pull these eyes on. I was going to leave a little outline around the eye, but let's pull that in. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's Zartan. Don't tell me I didn't just draw that guy, because I did. Sweet. Well, listen, you guys got out early. And you know what this Zartan gets? This Zartan gets a full group shot. That's what this guy gets. He gets a full shot of all the boys from 90210. Don't ask why those. They're in my art box. And just don't ask why. Just enjoy them. So, yeah, that's it for Joe and Joe this week. For Draw with Joe. Real quick, we're getting faster at this. I like it a lot. So next week is this episode drops on the 10th. Next week is the 17th, and the following week is the 24th. I'll be in San Diego on the 24th. 25th is our panel, and then 31st is my day for Cobra conversion. So we got 2 more episodes of Draw with Joe coming up. 2 more episodes. And then 31st will be Cobra, whatever I think of for Cobra conversion. So, that's going to be a lot of fun. Listeners, you're the best. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, give me a follow, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Shoot a review if you want. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/JoeandJoePod. And just say hi and enjoy yourselves. And remember, now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.